Menochos, Daf, Ayin Vav and Aleph. We're starting from the Mishnah. Kol Menochos. Okay, start. You ready? You have it. Kol Menochos to Uneis Shalish Meya Shifa. Every mincha by the colonels, they would rub it back and forth in order that the husk should come off easily, and then
the wheat kernel. Okay.
The wheat kernel, yeah. And also the barley kernel, they work the same way. The chamesh meis beita. Beita is this for every 3 times there was 5 pounding, either with the hand or with the feet. Chamesh beita means 5 pounding. Rashi says there's 2 days. Others say the pounding was done with the hand. Others say the pounding was done with the feet. Okay, shifu beita. The rubbing and the pounding, the chitin by wheat. It's not on the raw wheat, but it was done after it turned into dough. They would rub it because then it came out better. All the menachos were brought in tens challahs. Let's say you brought a cotton trade, there were 40 challahs. So there were 3 or 4 different minim. One was chametz, vuchis, and rikikin, and chalos. Each one was a set of 10. It had to be a set of 10. Except the lachma aponim was 6 and 6 was 12, and so too the chaviti hakoyin. The chaviti koyin, he brought 1 in the morning and 1, and he brought 1 at night. So maybe that's why it looks big. So chaviti koyin. So one in the morning, 1 at night. So those were also of 12. Okay, that's what Shem Bayish Teimas did Rabbi Yehuda. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, "Kulam Bayish Teimas." All the nachis came 12. Chutz the chalas toida, except for the chalas toida, where we said there was 40 chalas, it was a set of 10. The nachis is a carbon that's made out of the ingredients of flour. Okay, it's all right. So he says, "Chutz mechalas toida," except for mechalas toida, where there was sets of 10, because we said it was 40. So that's how we know it was 10. And then he says, "With Nazirus is somebody who takes it upon himself. He knows it. Okay, so there at the end he had to bring carbon, and with flour also. Shem Bayis says, and they go to also out of 10 sets of 10. If you look, he brings down over here each the 2 sugim were chales. And we kick him by the lachman dozen 10 and 10. Okay. Says Gemara Tana, we learned in the Braise shaf achas. He rubbed it once, bayit shtayim, and he pounded it twice. Shaf shtayim bayit shalish. Shaf shtayim if he rubbed it twice, then bayit shalish. He pounded 3 times. So if you make a cheshbon, it was 3. So 300 were rubbings. But then you had more pounding. It's 500 poundings. Okay? But Rabbi Yirmiyah asked the question, is going this way and this way 1, or going this way is 1 and going back is a second one? Is a lap when you switch back and forth, or each one is a lap? That's what he's asking. Says, you want to take her? I don't know. We'll leave it for Eliyahu Hanavi. Shifa beita bechitin. Rabbi Yosef, in the Mishnah we learned shifa beita. This rubbing and the pounding was while it was still kernels, and Rabbi Yosef says no, after it turned into dough. Okay. Maybe when the Mishnah says the first one says bechitin, the second one meant to say even bebatzik. Not just the chitin, you also need in the dough, not just the kernels, but also the dough. Maybe both.
It's not either or.
Right? How do you know it's either or? Tashma says, "I'll answer you." The time we learned in the Braisa says shifa beita bechitin, and then it says Rabbi Yosef shifa beita bebatzik. Now, if Rabbi Yosef was only coming to add that the batzik also needs shiva meita, he didn't have to say shiva meita again. You just said rubbing and pounding by kernels. Now, if Rabbi Yosef is coming to add The dough, he should have said apple butzik also by the dough, but he says shifa rubbing and the rubbing and the pounding is by dough. Zanaya, it's only by dough, not by anything else. Says the Gemara, we learned the Mishnah Nachlis boys. Every mincha comes in sets of 10, except the lachem apanim and chavit tekoyin gadol. Shtei mesei, they came in 12. Says the Gemara, lachem apanim, where's the makar? Behedik sibe. It says befeirs in the Torah. The kakta says ba'afisa aisen shtein eser chalis. On the lachem apanim with sets of 6 on each side on the lachem. So that we have. Chavit tekoyin gadol. Where do we know the chavit tekoyin gadol was also sets of 6? Says the Gemara, asiyah chuk milachem apanim. We make a Gzeir Shava. It says by Chavitin Chakoilam, and it says by Lachem Apanim, also Chak. So that's how we know 12. That's how we know we learn out Chavitin from Lachem Apanim has to be 12. It says the Gemara Kol Menachos the Bayis Esa. We learned the Mishnah. All the other Menachos come in 10s. In fact, Gemara Benala, how do we know that? It says the Gemara Gamim Lachmei Toida. We learn it out from Lachmei Toida. Malahalam, just like by the Lachmei Toida, Eser came. Lachmei Toida are the 40 breads, that different categories. One was boiled in hot water, and revuchis it was called, and then you had chametz, and then you had rikikin and chalis. So they came in sets of 10.
Rikiki weren't wafers? But
wafers, yes. Rikiki is wafers, chalis is challah.
Okay.
So just like by the Lachmei Toida, there was 10 of each. Avkan, so too by the other menachos, Esa is 10. How do you know to learn out 10 from there? The Leilef, let us learn it out. Milachem Apanim from Milachem Apanim. Malahalon Shtei Mesei. Avkam Shtei Mesei. How do you know to learn out from Lachmei Toida? The other menachos not from Lachmei Apanim had 6 and 6. Says you might stop from Lachmei Toida. It's reasonable to say they learned it out from Lachmei Toida. Why? It has so much more in common the other menachos with Lachmei Toida. How? Shekain. Hamisnadiv. Number one, they come with the dava. Lachem Apanim is you're obligated to bring the lachem apanim every week. It's not a dava. Shemen, the lachem apanim doesn't have oil. All the other menachos have. So the lachem apanim, so nivsil, and also the other menachos and the lachmei toida become pasul belinas laila, but not the lachem apanim. We went from week to week. So overnight a whole bunch of nights. There's no psul of overnight. Versus the other menachos, there's a psula of overnight. Shalei b'Shabbos, shalei b'Tumah. Shalei b'Shabbos, shalei b'Tumah means that they don't have a set time that it could override the Shabbos, right? So all the other menachos, since they don't have a set time, they cannot override Shabbos. They cannot, and if it's brought b'Tumah, you can't bring it. But something that's a chayv and it's tzibur, it's a set time, it overrides the Shabbos, and it's Hut Mitzvah. So you want to have it Rabba. I should have learned it out from Lachem Apanim. Why? Shekain, all the other menachos have in common Hekdesh, that it's Kodesh Kedashim. Okay, let me put it. Says the Gemara, we should have learned out from Lachem Apanim. Why? Because they're both Kodesh Kedashim. Levina, most of the menachos need the spices, right? And versus the Lachmei Toida doesn't have it, and the etzem, what's like matzah, and all the menachos come in matzah except for Lachmei Toida, they come in chametz. So it's not similar to Lachmei Toida. The etzem they brought on its own. Says the Gemara, the etzem, and they are brought on its own. And but the Lachem Apanim, right? The menachos and the Lachem Apanim don't. They come because of another carbon. But the Lachmei Toida comes only, again, Ve'etzem. They, who is they? The Lachmei Apanim. And the same thing is the other menachos. They can come on its own. But meaning, the other menachos and the Lachmei Apanim don't come because of another carbon. Versus the Lachmei Toida comes because of a carbon Toida. So it says you have two ways to look at it. Either you compare it to the Lachem Apanim, which has like more ways. I'll count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, versus 1, 2, and 3. So that's why he says Hanach Nafisham. He says the ones that are the ones that are compared to the Lachmei Toida have more in common than the one that's compared to the Lachma Panim. Okay. Says he's sweet and large. If you're going to learn out something like you learn out with Xei Shova, right? Here we learned that with Xei Shova, Chavite Koyim, from which one? We learned that Chavite Koyim from Lachma Panim. And then we learned out Chukka. Now Chavite Koyim, we want to learn out for all over. So he says, Chavite Koyim, Mala Hala and Shtein Asaf, Kan Shtein Asaf. Just like over there is 12, so too here is 12. Says we say it's more reasonable to say we learn it out from Lachmei Toida. Shekain, why Lachmei Toida? Because Shekain Hedget, mean a coin Hedget, not a coin Gadol, or Yisrael, which are like considered in the category of Hedget Lagabe coin Gadol, but meaning the other Menachos and Lachmei Toida, that's number one, okay? The other Menachos and Lachmei Toida are brought through a coin Hedget. And even a kohen hedget, and also sheis nadiv, that the menachos are brought. The menachos are brought as an adava. Mashrekin chavitin is a chayiv, and sham menachos v'lachmei toida are other menachos, and sham menachos and lachmei toida is brought in halves. We know chavitin. How did the kohen gadol do it? He did machzis ba'beiko, machzis ba'arev. Did half in the morning, half in the night. Versus the how do you call it? The dinner from Nachman tell you, but so what was the other one? The Chavitin.
Yeah.
Chavitin lepigel. So he says Shamanachs Nachman tell you there's a din pigel overnight. If it's overnight, there's the din of pigel. I mean, I'm sorry. If you had in mind. If you had in mind to eat it after the Zman, then it's pigel. That's pigel. Chavitim, there's no din pigel. Why? Because pigel is only on something that could become mutter. Like the kmitzer, after you do the kmitzer and you burn it on the mizbeach, the rest of the mincha becomes mutter.
What's pigel again? Pigel
is that you had a thought while you're burning the kmitzer to eat it after the Zman, or you had a thought to burn it after the allotted time. That's pigel, and it passes the carbon. But by chavitin, there's no din of pigel because the whole thing is burnt, and it's a pigel. It only pertains to something that could become mutter through something else. Right. But here, nothing is mutter. The whole thing goes. Okay, shalei b'Shabbos shalei b'tumah. Shamanachs lachmei toida are not sacrificed on Shabbos, or it's not mutter b'tumah because they don't have a set time. But chavitin is every day the same time, half in the morning, half in the night. So we should learn out from Chavite Kohen Gadol. Shekain, it's similar to Chavite Kohen Gadol. Isarein, that it's brought only with the share of Isarein. And the same thing is by the other Menachos. Kli, it has to be done in a Kli Shareis. But a Lachmei Toida, they don't have the Kedusha of a Kli. Hegdish, the hektish the chavit and the shamanachs are kachim lachmei teida kachim kalim ulavayna other menachas bechavitim need lavayna lachmei teida and the other lachmei teida doesn't. Other menachas bechavitim come as matzah, but the lachmei teida some of it is chametz be'etzem. The other minchas and chavitim come on their own, not because of another carbon that's mechayiv them to bring it, but lachmei teida comes because of a carbon teida hagasha. That it says the other menachos and chavitim need hagasha that brought to the southwest. You remember that airline, southwest corner of the mizbeach. It has to be brought before they do the kmitza. Lachmei teida doesn't have hagasha. The leishim and the minchas chavitim that are burned completely on the mizbeach. And by the other menachos, they burn the kaimitz on the mizbeach. Lachmei teida, nothing is burnt on the mizbeach. It says v'hanin afishon, and those things which other menachos are more compared to chavitim than those that are compared to the lachmei teida. Says Gemara, you're right, but nevertheless, hedged mehedged of it. It's better to learn a carbon through a hedged from another carbon that's through a hedged than learning out from a kohen gadol. Because a lesson, when you learn out a lesson, you always learn out a lesson. You feel inspired more by somebody on your level.
Right.
But somebody that's on a much higher level, you're not inspired. He's on a higher level. Well, why should I do it? Because he does it. He's a greater person than me. But somebody at your level that's doing this, you get inspired. That's what he says. Hedri, we learn out.
He can do what I can do.
He can do what I can do. That's right. Rabbi Yoima, Kulam Bayishtei Yasa. Rabbi says all the Menachos come 12. What was he thinking? If he held the David Halam B'Gzeir Shava, Choyzem Malamed B'Binyan Av. It's something. Let me see if this is the new edition. So the Gemara asked, how did he think that all the Menachos had 12? Says Gemara if he learns the David Halam B'Gzeir Shava, Choyzem Malamed B'Binyan Av. We learn out from Lachma Panim, right? Yeah. That the Menachos are 12. Chayk, it says chayk by both. It says chayk by Lachma Panim.
Okay.
And we learn out by Chaviti Kohen Gadol also chayk. So that's how we know it's 12. And then he wants to learn out with a binyan av. Once we learn out from Gzeir Shava. So now the thing that we learn Chaviti Kohen Gadol, which is similar to the other minchas, we want to learn out for all other menachos. There's a shaila if you could by kachim, if you're learning out B from A, could we learn out B from A with Gzeir Shava? Now we want to learn out B, but C, D, E, F, G with as a binyan av. Binyan av means since now this is the regular mincha which we learned out with Gzeir Shava that it's 12, so we should learn out for all the other menachos. Okay. So not everybody holds of this. So we're saying maybe this Tana holds, Rabbi Meir holds that it's 12 because we do learn out. Even though we learned out B from A, now we can learn out from B for the rest. Not everybody holds that. So he says, why? The Hanan Nefisha, because first of all the Menachos are very similar to Chavitin, like we brought down before, in many ways, more than by Lachmei Teda. Now, if you hold the Davar Halam B'Gzeir Shava, and if you can hold like the other man that says we cannot. 14:11. That's what he told me. So he says something that you learn out with Gzeir Shava. You can't learn it out. Something like B, you learned out from A with Gzeir Shava. If you're going to say like the Tana that says now B cannot be learned, since B you already learned out from A, you cannot use B to learn out for others. Okay. So he says Yalev min Lachma Panim. He learns out from Lachma Panim. Why? Because of a different reason. All the menachos are kodesh kadosh, hekdesh hekdesh, adif. They take them the top part of it. Hekdesh hekdesh yaleh, adif. Hekdesh hekdesh is better, other way. Okay, since they're similar, like we said before, it's better something on its peers. That's the best way to learn out one from the other. Except for the lachmei teda, we said it was 40 lechamim. It was divided in 4 categories. There was rechvuches, there was chametz, and there was chalos and rekikin, and they're all sets of 10. So there it says beferish 10. Zira is the amamar shlamav. Lizir, how do we know it's 10? Because we have extra word shlamav. Because why is it extra? Because in the beginning of the pasuk it said shkoich zeis teiras savach hashlamim already says. So why does he end off and at the end of the pasuk im al teida kavera, and he finishes off teida shlamav? Why do you have to say shlamav? Comes to tell you shami nazir. That the din is like Lachmei Teda. We learn out, just like Lachmei Teda is 10, so too is 10. I'm going to have to back Hisna, Amar Shmuel. I have to back Hisna, said the name of Shmuel. Lachmei Teda, Sha'afon Abba Chales. The Lachmei Teda that was baked for Chales, Yatza, he's Yatza, even though it's supposed to be 40. But he did it into each 10, he made one. In each category, only one. Says, we said we need 40. Says Gemara, that's the mitzvah. 40 is only for the mitzvah chatchila, but you don't need 40. In fact, but it says that you have to take off a 10th of each challah. A 10th means one out of each 10. 10. Well, so he says, like you said, well, maybe we'll break off a piece, which will make a 10.
10th of the volume.
A 10th of the volume, right? Says, the Torah says he should take one complete one. When you're breaking it, you shouldn't take a piece. It has to be something that's complete. This is a piece. It's no good. Says the Gemara, it's talking about that when did he separate it? While he was kneading the dough, then he took off a piece.
That's how you do challah, no?
That's how you do challah, correct. But there's a madam that says,
okay.
Says, what are you talking about? It says, any menachos that you added, instead of being 10, you made 11. Instead of 10, you made 9. Shevis is kosher. Chutz min lachma apanim v'chaviti kohen gadol lachma teinu naziris. Except for them, they don't have to be exact. If it did it less, all the menachas sheriba midah chalas and shemid midah chalas is going to be ksheda. Except lachma apanim v'chaviti kohen gadol lachma teinu naziris. If it's less than 10 or more than 10, it's going to be possible. But b'poel mamash, what do we see over here? The lachma toida has to be 10. And if it's less than 10, it's possible. And you said 4. Says, you want to go to Kai Tana? He says, Shmuel holds like this Tana. The Tanya we learned in the Braisa. Kol ha-menachos, sherid b'midas chalasim, or shemid b'midas chalasim. All the menachos that they added in the measurement, or they diminished in the measurement, kshedes. Chutz v'nachma apadim v'chaviti koyin gadol. Yeshemim, others say, af lachmei tedu naziros. Shmuel holds like the Tanakama, that he says that he didn't mention lachmei teida. Lachmei teida don't have to be. Lachmei teida is also kosher, even if it's going to be less than 10. And that's who he holds like Shmuel. Minchas mafer she'afa chala achas, the mincha of the mafer, that he break one challah instead of 10. It's kosher with the evidence. In fact, one of my time. What's the reason? Because matzah is ksiv, it's written matzas without a vav. It's red matzos, but it's written matzas. It's one, so that's how we say one is good enough. Matzah papa time and received. The whole reason is because it says matzas without a vav. Ksiv matzos, if it was with a vav lay, it wouldn't be kosher if he made a change. In fact, one of hagabi lachman teida ksiv matzos. By lachman teida, it says the word with a vav, and so you're going to say that you need 10? Oh, it says, you don't need 10, one is good. So how could you say when it says with a vav it means 10? It says, that in itself is a machlokes. If the matzos with a vav constitutes that you must have 10. No. Now those that say, even then, it's only a mitzvah to have 10, but you can do it by 1 and take off a 10th by the dough. It says the Omer came, there was one Isarin that they took it out of 3 Sa'im. Shtei halachem, Shtei Esroinim, they took out 2 Esroinim out of Sholosh Sa'im. And Lachma Apanim, Esma Abba Esroinim, Esma Abba Esroinim. So you see, the one that needed the most flour and finally come out with something was the Omer. It's out of 3 Sa'im, they got 1 Sa'. When it came to the Shtei halachem, they were able to pull out of 3 Sa'im 2 Isarim. And by the Lachma Panim, they were able to take out from 3 Sayin. That means for every Sa, they were able to take out another Lachem. So there was the most that came out was really by the Lachma Panim. They made so much out of the Sayin versus the Omer, they made so little. The 3 Sayin, they only got 1. Okay. In fact, you want my time, what's the reason? It says you want to keep in the Chadish Tvei, since the Omer comes from the new tvua, from the new grain, where you have the husk and the shaft, it's hard. They come from the barley. So Yisarim move in order to get rid of the shaft and the husks, and to come out with a clear one, you could only come out with 1 sa. They came out with 2 esrainis from 3 sayin. Says he wondered why were they able to pull out more?
Right.
He says because chitin is much better quality.
Right.
Given the chitin asin, since it comes out of chitin, there's less garbage mixed with the chitin. Even though they're coming from new, they were able to pull out 2 isarein, even though it was only 3
as opposed to sierra, as opposed to barley?
As opposed to barley. Barley's full of garbage, so you need to work it more, and you come out with less. Chitin, you can come out with more in the same measurement of 3 sign. Lachma Aponim, Me'esma Abba is saying this. Lachma Aponim came from 24. I needed to call for, says the Gemara, Lachma Aponim, Me'esma Abba is saying this, Me'esma Abba is saying. Here, the most was the Lachma Aponim that got out of every saw a full bread.
Okay.
Says the Gemara, why? Keep them a chitin asi, umin yashin asi. He says it was wheat, which you get most out of it,
Bigger
and it was
yield.
also,
You get
a bigger yield, good, and it was old, so the husks already fell. So when you were dealing with old, so you were dealing with much less. Therefore, you can get more out of it. You can get 1 challah per saw. All the Menachos that he added more. The sun is what you put which you're taking, let's say, for the mincha, the part that you need for the mincha. He took more than his son, or shamid b'mitzvah. He took less than his son. The share is his son. It's psulis. Why? Because when you take more than his son, you're getting part of the garbage. You're getting things that don't belong there. Also, it doesn't belong there. When you take less than the sarin, you're missing the sarin, the measurement that you need for a mincha. Right. Says Gemara, how about then it's psul? What's if from where the sarin is keeping to the measurement, but from how many saw did he take it? If he took it from 4 saw, it's even better, right, because he's taking only 1 saw out of 4 saw. He's probably getting the best quality. Sure, it's good. Riba b'midas hasarin shalem. Sure, it's kosher. Or let's say he had only 2 saw. He said, but the evidence is still going to be good because he put his sarin. Shayris, it's kosher. Sagt the Mishnah, the Oima went through 13 sieves. Shtei halachim went through 12 sieves. Lachem went through 11. There wasn't a set amount. Only the flour was sieved, and you were able to buy it sieved already from the marketplace. Never, like it says in the Pasuk, and you could buy it, the seilas, and bake it, until it should be sieved to its fullest. You want to take a Danish? Huh? Okay. Maybe we'll take it later. The seilas that was manupa with benapa daka, right? And benapa gasa, benapa dapa, benapa gasa. Reb Shimon ben Elazar explains, Shleish esrei nafis, there were 13 sieves. Zula Maila Mizul, Mizul Maila Mizul, Al Yoina collected supim, Tachtain collected soilers. The top one collected the garbage, and the bottom one collected the seiles. Now let me explain you. There was 13 sieves. They would take from, let's say, the bottom sieve had the small holes, right, and the top sieve had the biggest holes. Or the reverse, the top sieves had these.
No, it gets more and more refined as it goes down?
No. The smallest hole, and the big ones had bigger. Then 1 and 13 were the smallest holes. Okay. So in what did they do with the small one?
Like this?
1 and 13, 2 and 12, 3 and 11, okay? 1 and 13 worked like this. They took the small holes and they got rid of the powder. It's not what you want. You want sailors, it had to have a little richness to it. Then you also took the holes, the bigger holes from the bottom, and you got rid of the husks and the shafts, the bigger ones and small ones. You started off with the smaller ones. So you got rid of the powder and the smaller husks. Then you went to a little bigger holes to get now the sailors, right? And then a little bigger hole for the bigger shafts, and that's how they went till they got the best at that. And it fell into Kli, and they kept on sieving it in pairs, 1 and 13, 2 and then 12. Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
That's what he said. Shimon says there wasn't a certain amount of sieves. Only you sieved it as whatever you needed, and that's it. It says, should take soilis and you should bake it. It was bought from the marketplace, soilis, flour that was already worked out well from the professionals. How do we know even for the lachem aponim they bought it that way? It says you can even buy it that it was sieved, buy it already into as flour. I would have thought even by other menachos you're allowed to buy the chitin for the other menachos. It's mashma oisa means the soilers for the lachem aponim, which was bought when it was chitin, that you're allowed to buy it. But the other menachos, no. The Torah was made by the lachem aponim dafka, that you could even take it yourself and work it out yourself. You don't have to buy it. Because of the loss of money. You want to save money because it was every week you had to put on the lachem apanim 12 breads. So they allowed you to sieve it yourself, not to have to buy it from the store. What does it mean because of a loss? The Torah has rachmanis on the money of a yid. Where do we see the Torah has rachmanis on the money of a yid? It says, it says Hashem commanded Moshe to speak to the stone,
right,
and to get out from the stone water, and you should not only give enough for the people to drink, but also for the animals to have what to drink. So you see, the Eibush had rachmanis on us for our money also, that we should be able to take care of the water for those too.